They say blood is thicker than water, but sometimes envy is thicker than blood. And in Lagos, in Abuja, and across the family compound in Oshobo, one woman carried a secret so dark, so calculated, that it fooled even her closest kin for 10 whole years. This is the story of Tola, the surviving twin who lived 2 lives. Tola and Temi were identical, born together, raised together, inseparable as children. But while Temi rose fast, landing a lucrative job at Shell Oil in Abuja, Tola lived a quieter life as an accountant in Lagos. To the outside world, both twins were shining stars. To Tola, Temi's light burned too brightly, casting her own into shadow. For 10 years, Tola perfected what many would call the perfect crime. By day, in Lagos, she was herself. Tola, the diligent bank accountant at Citibank under the sharp supervision of Mrs. Folktale. She lived modestly, carried herself with discipline, and earned respect as a hard-working woman. But on other days, in Abuja, she transformed. With a change of geli, heavier makeup, and Temi's crisp accent, she became her dead twin, Temi, the petroleum engineer who lived in luxury. Tola switched lives as easily as changing wrappers. When she wanted to blend in Lagos, she wore plain headscarves, simple suits, and kept her voice soft. When she traveled to Abuja, she wore bold colors, stylish wigs, and carried the confidence of an oil executive. Nobody suspected the difference. She managed 2 salaries, one from her steady bank work, the other from Temi's role, whose benefits and allowances still rolled in, thanks to carefully forged records and a network of deceits. She collected Temi's NMPC pension, her leadway life insurance payout, and even then SIF contributions meant for the deceased. On top of that, Chinedu, Temi's ex-fiancé, still sent generous money transfers for both sisters, never realizing one of them was already gone. In Oshobo, at the family compound, everyone believed both twins were alive, just busy in different cities. Temi is in Abuja, Tola is in Lagos. Their mother would explain with pride to relatives. No one noticed that only one sister ever visited at a time. No one noticed the subtle overlaps, the phone calls that were always audio only, the video calls that were too brief, with Temi's face hidden by poor network or camera angles. Tola had rehearsed it all. Her geli style for Tola, her geli style for Temi, the lipstick shade that Temi preferred, the perfume only Temi used. She had an answer for every question, an excuse for every doubt. When Alhaji Musa, Temi's former boss at Shell, casually asked, "Why don't we ever see both sisters together?" Tola laughed lightly and said, Sir, it's too expensive for us to travel at the same time. One must always stay back for Mama." The scheme made her wealthy. In Lagos, she drove a modest Corolla. In Abuja, as Temi, she drove a Toyota Prado and rented a luxury apartment. Relatives saw money flowing from both ends and praised the family for raising 2 great daughters. Tola sent money home as Tola and as Temi, ensuring her mother never doubted. She told herself it was justified. After all, she was still providing for the family. She was still carrying the family name high. Who needed to know the truth? But behind her smiles, her heart was poisoned. She wasn't just collecting benefits. She wasn't just pretending. She was living Temi's life, because Temi no longer had one. And every time she tied that geli and looked into the mirror as Temi, a question echoed in her head. How long can a lie like this survive? Because secrets have a way of rising, just like bodies in a river. For 10 years, Tola thought she had beaten the system. She switched lives like clothing, moving between cities, living 2 realities, collecting 2 lives' worth of money. But Lagos has a way of watching you. Even when you think no one notices, someone does. And in this case, it was Mr. Emeka Okafor, Leadway Assurance's most thorough investigator. Okafor was not a man easily fooled. For over 15 years, he had handled fraudulent claims, fake deaths, ghost beneficiaries, forged signatures. But when he opened Temi's case file, something disturbed him. The records didn't add up. Temi had supposedly died in a car crash 10 years ago near Abuja. Yet her pension contributions, SIF benefits, and insurance payouts had continued without interruption. Even stranger, hospital records showed treatment for Temi in Lagos, but the medical file was identical to Tola's, same blood type, same allergies, same past surgery. Okafor leaned back in his chair, tapping the folder. This is not ordinary. He began digging. First, he checked BVN records. Bank accounts don't lie. Both Tola and Temi's accounts showed activity, but it was the same pattern. Money withdrawn in Lagos on Friday, then Abuja on Saturday, almost too perfectly balanced. Okafor knew that even identical twins did not spend money the same way. He ordered quiet surveillance. At family events in Oshobo, he noticed something odd. Everyone greeted both sisters, yet no one had ever seen them together. A cousin swore Temi had been at Christmas dinner, but when shown a photo, it was Tola, just styled differently. Okafor began to circle. Video calls. That was the next trap. Okafor examined recordings of Temi speaking. The makeup and Gelly were elaborate, yes. But the voice, the same slight stutter as Tola. The same tilt of the head when listening. For the trained ear, there was no mistake. Meanwhile, Tola was unraveling. Switching between Lagos and Abuja was becoming harder. Delays in flights, traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge, unexpected office meetings, each made her scheme riskier. Once, she rushed from Abuja as Temi to Lagos as Tola, forgetting she had painted her nails bright red. By the time she arrived at the bank, Mrs. Folake raised an eyebrow. Tola, since when did you start wearing colors like this? Mistakes were creeping in. Okafor pressed harder. He subpoenaed CCTV footage from Murtala Mohammed Airport. And there it was, Tola passing through as herself in the morning. Then hours later as Temi, same height, same body frame, only disguised with different clothing and head tie. The cracks widened. Medical records showed that only Tola had ever checked into hospitals, never Temi. Police cross-referenced with Federal Road Safety Commission accident files and found something chilling. Temi had been declared dead after a car accident 10 years ago. How then was she alive, still working, still earning, still paying taxes? Okafor now had enough to move the case forward. He quietly contacted EFCC. The anti-graft agency began shadowing Tola, reviewing her bank transactions, property acquisitions, and even the lavish Abuja apartment she claimed belonged to Temi. But Tola sensed the walls closing in. She staged a hasty video call with family members, pretending Temi was in Dubai on official work. Yet, during the call, her uncle coughed. "You sound just like Tola," he said casually. Her heart stopped. Still, she tried to fight. She created fake receipts of medical checkups under Temi's name. She even bribed a Shell HR officer to sign letters confirming Temi's employment. But Okafor had already dug too deep. He now suspected something darker, that Temi had not simply disappeared, but had died long ago. One evening, Tola sat in her Lagos flat, trembling. 2 passports spread before her. One marked Tola, one marked Temi. Her hands shook as she whispered to herself, "They can't know. They must never know." But the truth was already running toward her, unstoppable. The investigation was no longer about fraud. It was about murder. The EFCC headquarters in Lagos was buzzing. Files spread across tables, investigators pacing, phones ringing non-stop. At the center of it all was Mr. Emeka Okafor, the man who had dragged this case into the light. The more they dug, the uglier it became. They reopened Temi's death file, the so-called accident on the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway 10 years earlier. According to records, Temi's Toyota Camry had skidded off the road near Jerry and burst into flames. Everyone had believed it was a tragic accident on one of Nigeria's most dangerous highways. But when forensic experts examined the preserved case file, the truth emerged. The brake fluid had been deliberately drained. It wasn't just bad luck. It was murder. Okafor sat in silence as the report landed on his desk. He knew immediately what it meant. Tola had not only stolen her sister's identity, she had killed to get it. The EFCC moved quickly. They summoned Tola for questioning under the pretense of routine verification. She arrived in her modest Citibank attire, her face calm. But once she sat before the panel, Okafor, 2 EFCC operatives, and a federal prosecutor, her calm began to crack. "Madam Tola," Okafor started softly, "we have reason to believe Temi is dead, and not from an accident." Her eyes widened, lips parting, but no words came. Sweat formed along her brow. Then the evidence came like hammer blows. CCTV footage showing her as both identities. Hospital records proving only Tola ever sought treatment. Banking patterns that no 2 people could possibly maintain. Forensic reports declaring Temi's brakes were tampered with. Tola's lips trembled. She tried to deny it. My sister is alive. She works in Abuja, you can ask. Enough. The prosecutor snapped, slamming the file. Stop insulting our intelligence. Hours of questioning broke her. Finally, with tears running down her face, she whispered, Yes, I killed her. The room went silent. She confessed that she had been consumed by jealousy. Temi, the glamorous one, the beloved one, the twin who had everything. A Shell job, an Abuja apartment, a fiancé, Chinedu, who showered her with gifts. Family members who always compared them, always saying Temi was brighter, finer, more successful. Tola admitted she had planned the murder for months. She studied Temi's travel schedules, learned her routes, and chose the Kaduna highway. Lonely, dangerous, perfect for tragedy. She loosened the brakes herself during a family visit, pretending to help Temi check her car. Investigators pressed her. If Temi died on the road, why were there no burn marks on the remains? That's when Tola revealed the part no one could imagine. When news of the crash reached her, she rushed to the site before authorities arrived. Temi was still alive, barely breathing, pinned in the wreck. Tola knelt beside her, whispering comfort. Then, with her own scarf, she pressed until her twin's last breath stopped. The highway was empty. The few villagers who first saw the crash had already gone to call for help. Tola acted quickly, hiding Temi's body in the boot of her own car before the police came. She set the car on fire and the wreck was reported as fatal, but no one noticed the body was missing. That night, she drove through the darkness to Oshobo. Alone, she dug beneath the old orange tree in their compound and buried her sister's body deep in the soil. It was the perfect crime. For 10 years, she played both roles flawlessly. She mastered Temi's voice, accent, handwriting. She replied Temi's office mails, showed up at Shell gatherings in borrowed wigs, and even maintained the illusion of Temi's engagement with Chinedu, collecting his money, pretending to be grateful. The deception was total. When EFCC operatives followed Okafor's lead and dug under that same orange tree, the villagers watched in horror. The bones that surfaced told the story Temi never could. When the news broke, Oshobo wept. Family members collapsed in grief. Neighbors gathered, whispering prayers, their voices trembling. 10 years of lies, 10 years of sending money from both daughters, 10 years of pretending everything was fine, all shattered. Tola was charged with murder, identity theft, insurance fraud, and money laundering. The courtroom in Lagos overflowed during her trial. Journalists packed the seats, channels TV broadcasted updates, social media boiled with outrage. Nigerians could hardly believe it. 2 sisters born together, yet one had killed the other for envy. The judge's voice thundered as the sentence fell. Tola Okeke, you are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of your sister, Temi Okeke, and for multiple counts of fraud. Gasps filled the room. Some wept, some muttered curses, others simply stared at the woman in handcuffs, once a bank accountant, now branded forever as a murderer. And so, the horrific truth was revealed. Temi had been dead for 10 long years. The perfect crime was never perfect after all.